Finally, the day has come for which all the fans were waiting. They were asking for the justice for Young Dolph. Yo Gotti is officially going to be arrested as the final suspect in Young Dolph case pleaded deal, and he was found guilty. But before we dive deep into it, first watch this and then I will break it down for you. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you found the video valuable.
Third and final defendant charged in the Memphis rapper's death was expected to plead guilty today. Instead, his case was pushed back for 6 more weeks as both sides are trying to iron out details. Fox 13's investigative reporter Kayla Solomon joins us live tonight. Kayla, the DA's office gave a hint as to what still needs to be sorted out.
Yeah, Darcy, the district attorney's office clarified that there is a guilty plea that's been agreed on, but they're still trying to iron out details with the Tennessee Department of Corrections on Cornelius Smith's housing. That's the last thing that needs to be signed off on. Now, Cornelius Smith, along with Justin Johnson, were both charged with the physical November 2021 shooting of Dolph outside of Makita's Cookies in South Memphis. And Smith testified against the other shooter, Justin Johnson, who was then convicted of murder. Hernandez-Govan was accused of masterminding the murder, but a jury acquitted him last summer. Today,
more than 4 years following Young Dolph's tragic murder, the final suspect linked to his killing is preparing to accept a plea deal, marking what many hope will be the conclusion of this devastating chapter in hip-hop history. On Thursday, February 12, Fox 13 Memphis brought forth the report that Cornelius Smith, who is 36 years old, has agreed to enter into a plea agreement in his criminal case after admitting to being one of the shooters who fatally shot Young Dolph outside Makita's homemade butter cookies located in Memphis on November 17, 2021, a date that sent shockwaves through the music industry and left the Memphis community in mourning. Smith is anticipated to plead guilty to the charges against him. However, before this plea can be officially entered and processed, specific details regarding where exactly he will be housed within the Tennessee Department of Corrections facilities for his period of incarceration need to be verified and confirmed by the appropriate authorities. The scheduled court hearing, during which Cornelius Smith is expected to formally enter his guilty plea, has been set for March 30th, giving both the prosecution and defense time to finalize all necessary arrangements and documentation related to his sentencing and placement within the correctional system. Cornelius Smith represents one of 3 men who were arrested and subsequently had their respective days in court to face justice for their individual roles in the beloved rapper's untimely death, a case that has captivated public attention and raised serious questions about street politics, loyalty, and the dangerous intersection of gang culture in the music industry. Throughout 2024, Smith confessed to actively participating in the shooting alongside his co-defendant Justin Johnson, revealing that both men had the expectation of receiving $40,000 each as payment for carrying out the assassination of Young Dolph, exposing the cold, transactional nature of the hit and how easily a life can be valued in monetary terms on the streets.
Deputy District Attorney Paul Hagerman and Smith's attorney Michael Scholl told us they're ready for this chapter to be closed.
Smith provided crucial testimony against Justin Johnson during Johnson's trial in 2024, and during his time on the witness stand, he told the court that they were specifically sent to kill Young Dolph as part of a hit that was allegedly put out by Big Juke, who was the late brother of prominent Memphis rapper Yo Gotti, bringing to light the complex web of relationships, rivalries, and alleged criminal conspiracies that allegedly led to Dolph's murder, and raising uncomfortable questions about who truly bears responsibility for ordering the execution. Justin Johnson, after a lengthy trial process, was ultimately found guilty on all counts brought against him, which included first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and being a convicted felon in possession of a firearm, and he received a life sentence in 2024, ensuring he will spend the rest of his days behind bars for his role in taking Young Dolph's life. Meanwhile, Hernandez-Govan, who prosecutors accused of being the mastermind behind the entire hit by allegedly operating under direct instructions from Big Juke and coordinating the logistics of the murder, was surprisingly acquitted of all charges after the jury deliberated and found Govan not guilty of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder last August, a verdict that shocked many observers and left Dolph's family and supporters questioning whether true justice had been served. The question that continues to linger heavily in the air and weighs on the hearts and minds of Young Dolph's family, friends, fans, and the broader Memphis community is whether this outcome truly represents justice for Dolph, a man who was more than just a rapper, but was a father, a son, entrepreneur, a community leader, and an inspiration to countless people who saw in him a symbol of independence, resilience, and authenticity in an industry often criticized for its lack of both. Young Dolph, whose real name was Adolph Robert Thornton Jr., had built an impressive career entirely on his own terms, refusing to sign with major labels and instead creating his own path through his Paper Route Empire label, proving that artists could maintain creative control and financial independence while still achieving mainstream success, making his loss even more devastating to those who admired his business acumen and artistic integrity. The circumstances surrounding his death on that November day in 2021 were particularly heartbreaking because Dolph was simply stopping by his favorite cookie shop, a place he frequented whenever he was back home in Memphis, engaging in a mundane, everyday activity that any person might do when he was ambushed and gunned down in broad daylight, illustrating how violence can strike anyone at any moment, regardless of their status or precautions. The aftermath of his murder sparked intense speculation, numerous investigations, arrests, trials, and ultimately convictions. But for many in the community, no amount of prison time for the perpetrators can truly compensate for the irreplaceable loss of Young Dolph's presence, his future contributions to music and his community, and the hole left in the lives of his two young children who will grow up without their father. The revelation that the murder was allegedly a paid hit ordered by individuals connected to the rap industry added another layer of tragedy to an already devastating situation, highlighting the dark underbelly of hip-hop beefs and how personal conflicts between artists can escalate into deadly violence that claims lives and destroys families. As Cornelius Smith prepares to enter his guilty plea and face the consequences of his actions, many are left wondering whether this will finally bring some measure of closure to Young Dolph's loved ones or whether the pain and questions will continue to persist, particularly given that some believe the true architects of the murder may never be held accountable if the allegations about higher-level involvement are accurate but unprovable in court. The case serves as yet another tragic reminder of how the cycle of violence in hip-hop culture continues to claim talented artists in their prime, from Tupac and Biggie to Nipsey Hussle and now Young Dolph, each loss representing not just the end of a life, but the silencing of a unique voice and the prevention of all the positive impact that artist could have continued to make in their community and beyond.
The third and final defendant charged in the Memphis rapper's death was expected to plead guilty today. Instead, his case was pushed back for 6 more weeks as both sides are trying to iron out details. Fox 13's investigative reporter Kayla Solomon joins us live tonight. Kayla, the DA's office gave a hint as to what still needs to be sorted out.
Yeah, Darcy, the district attorney's office clarified that there is a guilty plea that's been agreed on, but they're still trying to iron out details with the Tennessee Department of Corrections on Cornelius Smith's housing. That's the last thing that needs to be signed off on. Now, Cornelius Smith, along with Justin Johnson, were both charged with the physical November 2021 shooting of Dolph outside of Makita's Cookies in South Memphis. And Smith testified against the other shooter, Justin Johnson, who was then convicted of murder. Hernandez Govan was accused of masterminding the murder, but a jury acquitted him last summer. Today,